It doesn't matter. How I feel about it doesn't matter. The Constitution says you have the right to have your organic meals because that is the belief in which you follow. Ta-da. And in a way, whether or not you like it or not, you're kind of like at the same time relieved. Like, thank God, if I go to, if I ever go to jail, at least I know I have some, some rights there too. All right, so notice now we look at these two sides and go, while I'm mad that he gets his organic food, I'd be like, well, I'm really glad that they are upholding the religious beliefs of those in jail because I would like that to apply to me when I get there or if I get there. I don't know why I said when I get there. But you get the hint, right? So we do have to consider both sides. And once you take that emotion out and you look at it as it truly is, then you can go, and yes, I didn't mean to spend so much time on that, but I do believe it's important. Okay? All right. So when you come to a conclusion, make sure it is based on a reason. Okay? So when you come to a conclusion on a thing, you want to make sure that it's based on a reason. How did you get there? Okay? And your conclusion should have substance. Your conclusion to a thing should have substance behind it that give you that ultimate conclusion. Okay? Let's see here. Have you, as a quick discussion, you can talk with this with your friends, with yourself. I don't know. Normally we would do this in class, but have a quick discussion or at least consider, have you ever seen people express opinions? And we all know this is going to be true. Have you ever seen people express opinions without basing their conclusions on reasons? Yeah, I just had a huge argument with some people, and it was this opinion, and they were saying words, but there was no conclusion based on there's no true reason behind it. And you're sitting here, I'm telling you, after this class you'll be like, man, I've argued really terribly, and these people are arguing really terribly. And then you can see and decide whether or not you need to step back and having conversations with some people, right? So a great skill to acquire is going to be understanding the issue. What is the issue at hand? What is the true thing we are trying to address? Okay. Make sure that everyone is discussing the same issue and bring the discussion back on target when it's necessary, right? So when you start seeing people go off on their emotional tangent, say, hold on, that's not what we're talking about. This is the issue, not that. This is the issue, right? So like when we're talking about the guy with the horns who's getting his organic food, that's not fair, he shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. And they go off on this other tangent. It's like, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about his constitutional right to in jail have his religious rights. Ta-da, that's the issue. And it was handled as it should have been, right? Whether or not we believe it or want it to be true isn't the issue. Okay? All right. So on page 7, take a look around on, let's see where we at here. Pre-programmed answers to address different issues that they can discuss more easily. So you'll notice a lot of times politicians do this a lot. They do kind of sometimes skirt around the thing without saying, I don't have the answer. They just go, okay, so the president's press secretary just kind of did the same thing. She kind of punted a few statements out to, so they've got President Biden. They were asking, what's his take on the impeachment and all this stuff. And she's like, it's like, well, we have our, Biden has an opinion on that, and we're going to give it to Congress and let Congress handle it. And so that was a bunt. That was a way of addressing an issue, but without having the argument. And they go, we're going to let Congress handle that without partaking in it. So you can kind of see some dialogue that politicians or speakers for politicians might use in order to either address an issue or bypass an issue. Okay. So, if a presidential candidate is asked how he's going to balance our federal budget, good luck on that, anybody, he might declare passionately that he will never raise taxes. How often have we heard that, right? He has thus skillfully accomplished two things. One, he avoided the difficult issue. Do you see how he didn't address the issue, just made another statement? All right. And he has taken a popular vote enhancing stand on a separate issue. Raising the taxes is not the issue here. The issue at hand is the federal budget. Raising taxes is not answering the question on whether or not they were going to balance the budget. I'm not going to raise taxes. That's not what I asked you. All right. So keep that in mind when you're in an argument with someone, because they do that. They skirt and they go to that other level, that other statement. You're like, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. Be mindful. Watch for people. They do that. All right. Call them out on it. Right? You got the capabilities now that you're starting to take this class. Okay, so when confronted with an argument, define the issue and put the issue in the form of a question. Okay, let's see here. Conclusion. So this is not the conclusion of the class. This is understanding what a conclusion is in an argument. Okay, so a conclusion is where we take a stand on an issue at hand. It's where we end up in our statement on an issue. This is our conclusion. And our conclusion, we take a position on, take a position about an issue, which is a claim supported by evidence and statements. Okay, reasons or premises. So our conclusion is based on reasons and premises. Okay. Again, I like that little mathematical. It says conclusions equal a position on an issue plus reasons or premises. So to have a conclusion, you got to have a position, but you also have to have a reason for it. Okay, for how you got to that conclusion. All right. So critical thinking is an opinion with substance. Okay, you can have an opinion, absolutely. Again, everyone's got one. All right, but to really be a critical thinker, you're going to have that substance. To have that conclusion, you need to have your reasons, your premises, and the things that back you up. Okay, so again, a conclusion is not to be confused with the closing of an essay. Okay, what we're talking about here is a conclusion that you come up with with an argument. It has nothing to do with essays. So, in case you were curious about that. Okay. So, to be a critical thinker, you have to have two really important qualities. Okay, one, intellectual humility. All right, you can know everything. Ladies and gentlemen, I have 2 master's degrees, and the more I know, the more I realize I don't know anything at all. Okay, and every day is a learning lesson, and every day my opinions and beliefs and things start to change because I get more facts and I get more conclusions, and I go, yeah, you might be right. Right? Always be open. So intellectual humility is the awareness of a person's own limitations. I only know so much. I don't even have a doctorate yet, right? Like there's so many things despite all my experience, despite all my knowledge. I just don't know all the things. And that's okay. And I'm willing to say, "Oh, I didn't know that." Or, I thought this, but now I'm learning maybe it wasn't right. And that's okay. That is how you know you're a critical thinker, because you'll stop and go, "I didn't look at it that way." That's what you want to do. That's how you want to be someone who can be able to say, oh, this more information that I got now makes me go, oh, I see now how these two things change, or how I understand while I was, Butterfly Hill and I was diehard in that tree, I'm starting to see what the loggers are saying. And I go, yeah, that too. So let's come with a compromise, right? This is how it should be working. Not to be diehard set in this only thing that I know versus going, you know what? Maybe it's important I see this other side. That is intellectual humility. And then 2, you make an effort to be discerning about what you read and hear. My God, I love my husband, but I swear to you, when he gets on TikTok, yeah, and he'll come into the kitchen, I'm cooking, he's like, oh, hey, babe, look what I heard, blah, blah, and he tells me these things. I'm like, okay, did you stop and think about maybe the reality of that? He's like, well, no. I was like, well, can you research it first? Then he researches it and comes back. He's like, yeah, you're right. I was like, I know. So discern the things that you read and hear. Where is this information coming from? And what's behind it, right? A lot of times you might be hearing stuff and you're like, man, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. There's no way, whoa. And you believe it. And then you have to go, hold up. Wait a minute. Is this really true? Like, what's the truth behind this? And then you look and go, oh, okay. There's more likely, this is going to be incorrect and manipulated because this person or thing is behind it. This money is behind it. Versus going, well, these people have no benefit either way. And in a sense, even that true statement right here doesn't benefit them. It doesn't do anything but show the facts, right? So we have to do this balance of where is this information coming from and who's behind it. Watch the money, watch the political gain, watch the, what's the gain in either side, and then go and say, oh, the facts, science, statements, man, it's leaning towards this. I'm going to have to say based on what I know. And in my original thought, I think it's going to be this in the end because I did my research. Okay, so what I would like you to kind of consider outside of this this quick discussion is, on your own, take a moment and think, do you want to do things differently? And some people go, nope, I like everything the way it is. But I really want you to consider, how would you like to maybe consider things differently too? Are you able to realize your personal limitations when it comes to different issues? For me, man, I'm all for listening. It's hard sometimes, and I don't want to, and I just want to like, "Grr." But I do know that to be, again, intellectually, humble and go, you know what? You're right, actually, you're right. And I have to admit that these things we have to consider. Do I want to do things differently? Absolutely. I don't want to be the crazy flat earther over there screaming and yelling at this thing because I can't get past my emotions or my ego. I want to be able to say, you know what? You're actually right, the earth is round. I don't know, I really wanted to be flat, I guess. And that's how it ends up being. It's just sometimes we want to believe in a thing so bad because we want it to be that way. But maybe in the end we go, I wanted it to be flat, but I truly see that it is not. And I kind of understand now how things make more sense now with, the weather and travel. I see now how maybe it isn't flat. And then you go, and then things start to make a little bit more sense. Are you willing to get past your personal emotional limitations when it comes to different issues? And it's hard, but it's beautiful. And when you get there, you go, oh, I can see both sides. And it's okay to lean either way, absolutely, but it's always important to get it all. All right. And then I ask you, do you ever make decisions without carefully examining reasons, evidence, justification, or support? Or do you just flat out deny it? Right? And I'm not saying there wasn't a time where, I've been this person. There's days sometimes I'm like, damn, I am that person. I want to get past that personally. Do you ever make decisions without examining the reasons, without examining the evidence, justification, or support? Right? Are you denying it because you just don't want to believe it? Think about that when you consider these things. So this is just how we need to be as critical thinkers and human beings on this earth, to be honest with you. To really get along with other humans, we do have to, think of both sides. Weird how that works, right? And it becomes a little bit more harmonious, And it's hard. I got family members right now. They're just screaming and yelling. I'm just like, I do not know how to tell you how illogical your statement is. I love you, but I can't have this conversation because you're so out in left field, right? It happens. Let's go to page 11. And we're going to sit here and talk about the text messages between a couple people. We're leaning into decision making, right? How do we make decisions? How do we do the things that we do? And what influences us? And there's just this quick little text message back and forth between Jen, Peach, and Claire. So we're going to say Peach and Claire. That's what we're going to name them. Okay, so Peach, hey Claire, hey Jen, how are you? I'm okay, I think, kind of tired. Am I going to see you today? Claire says to Peach. And Peach says, I think so. Waterworld? Waterworld. All right. And so Claire goes, yeah, should I go or not? And then Jen's like, well, if you want to, I don't know if I will or not. I'm so tired. And then we go back to Claire. Me too. I have to pack. If you go, I will, but I don't want to go if I'm going to be the only one there my age. And of course, Peach is like, ditto. And Claire says, so? Jen's like, the question is, do we really want to go or not? And Claire's like, well, what's the advantage of going? All right, we're about to make a decision here. So Peach says, I was thinking that water and slides and stuff, and, we get to see each other. There's some positives. And then Claire's like, I'm leaving soon, but if we stay, well, I'll get to do laundry and sleep. And so Claire's like, and pack and do the dishes. She's got a lot going on. All right. She's like, I'm leaning towards going now. So Claire wants to go. And Peach says, well, the negatives are small children screaming, sun, noise, more energy required than I have. Girl, I feel you. All right. And then Claire's like, very true. So Peach is like, not necessarily better than packing and cleaning. And so Claire says, we wouldn't actually have to get up. We could grab a small section of grass and sleep and sunbathe. And so Claire's like, we could read and relax. Peach is like, yay. How many two? Yay. So it sounds like we should go. And should we just go? And Peach says, okay. All right, that was that was a fun little adventure. Okay, so my question is, how realistic is this text message back and forth, right? That sounds pretty much like me and my friends. We're like, I don't know. All right, let's go. I don't know. Depends on when my coffee hits, right? And my question is, are you more likely or less likely to walk through reasons to do something with a friend? Like, do you go that back and forth, or just kind of sit on it and go, how what kind of excuses can I make so I don't have to go? Right? So, is it a realistic text? I would say, this is how we're trying to decide on how we do things, right? We talk it out with people, we get the pros, we get the cons, and we see both sides of it, right? So, I want you to read on page 33, The Road Not Taken. So let's scroll up to that. All right. And aside from me, I would like you to, this is, by the way, this is a Robert Frost poem, which I like. I want you to write down one or two dilemmas you're facing right now. So, read this Road Not Taken, right, where he's talking about two roads diverged in yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And B, one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth, and took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though, as far as the passing there had worn them really about the same, and both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day. Yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I could ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Ta-da! Okay, I read it for you anyway. So I want you to define a dilemma as an issue, like which road do I take, and then create a long-term objective answering the question, what do I want to do with this choice to accomplish with my life? Darlings, you're going to graduate college and be like, is that really what I want to do? And you're going to be doing this all throughout your life. That's the beautiful process of being a human, okay? And then if either choice does not meet the objective or the decision you want to make, what factors are most important in your desired outcome, right? So I want you to try, based on this poem and those texts, consider different ways you make decisions. And why and how do we do this? Okay, so that being said, utilizing this decision making in these chapters, you end up getting to come to a conclusion. And we talked about a little bit about conclusion, but we're trying to figure out how are we getting there. All right, so conclusion has a different definition, but here it applies to the study of argumentation, right? We're trying to argue a position, and the conclusion is the positions people take on issues. Okay, how are we coming to these conclusions of these positions we have based on the research and information that we have? So there's other definitions of a conclusion where some people, they like to make a claim, they'll make a viewpoint, they have a position on a thing, they have opinions on something, and they take stands, okay? So when you're looking for this conclusion in an argument, right, so the best way to understand where a conclusion comes from is looking for some keywords. So first, you want to find the issue. What's the issue? We talked about that. The topic would be Alpo. The issue is, do I feed it to my dog? Boom, issue right there. Okay. And then ask what position the author or speaker is taking. Like, where is this? If we're going to argue about whether or not to feed the dog Alpo, look at what their arguments might be for the pros or the cons. Look at the beginning of the paragraph or the essay on where they might be leaning towards. And then look for the conclusion or indicated words after you've read it through. So they're going to give you some reasons in between, and at the end, their conclusion in these statements of these issues is going to be something like, well, therefore, I'll feed my dog Alpo, or so I'm probably not going to do it, or thus, or hence why I don't give Alpo to my puppy. Okay, so indicator phrases are going to be my point is, or what I'm trying to say here is, or what I believe is, based on all these reasons. Okay? And that's how you know when you can find a conclusion. Okay? So a conclusion drawn is going to be considered the right one is, obviously, I would feed my dog Alpo because there's so many good things to it. Or it's evident that Alpo is the better option. Or there's no doubt or question that Alpo is not going to be for my dog. Or certainly, and lastly, of course. Okay? So, ask yourself also, what is being claimed by the writer or speaker? So to get to that conclusion, to see what they're coming up with, ask themselves, what are they asking? Are they asking, is this dog food good for my dog, right? What are we looking for here? And then look, sometimes even in the title of the essay, it'll tell you like, why I believe I should give my dog Alpo. Well, we already see their stance just based on that, okay? Or why I believe vitamins are essential to health. Okay, so another skill you need to acquire is find the conclusion to the argument. what is the conclusion? Okay. And then what position is the author or the speaker taking? So keep in mind that statement of an opinion like, I don't know anything about this, but, well, pretty much that's an opinion. That is not an argument. That is not a discussion. That's just you giving your opinion. Well, I don't really know anything about it. Or you can usually tell by their statement whether or not it's an opinion. Okay, so, the conclusion needs reasons. And the reasons are statements that provide support for the conclusion. So to have the conclusion, you're going to need your reasons. And a reason is statements with supporting conclusions. All right. Support for conclusion. Sorry about that. Again, reasons equals statements. All right. Statements with support for conclusions. All right. So without a reason, you have no argument. If you don't have a reason, you don't have an argument. All right. Just in a statement. Okay. And I had a argument with some family members on social media. I don't go on Facebook anymore because of this. And, I'm trying to have this conversation and they were just giving out these random statements. Violence is violence. I'm like, that's just a statement. That doesn't mean anything. Like, come on, you got to really back up your reasoning behind this. Well, violence is just violence, and murder is just wrong. Well, duh, that's a fact. We know this. Well, based on your moral assumption on what you feel murder to be. But as a social conclusion, we can say, yes, violence is violence and murder is murder. You're not arguing the statement. You're just making an assertion or just a statement, okay? So that being said, reasons are also known as evidence, premises, support, and justification, reasonings behind these statements, okay? So, ways to locate or discover some reasons. You can find the conclusion by applying the because trick. Because will always lead you to the reason, right? So, the reader believes this because, and then you give the reason, right? The second, right after that because is going to give you that reason. And then you can also look for indicator words like things that are similar to the word because. Since, for, first, second, third, as evidenced by, also, furthermore, in addition. These are words that are going to help you see where that reasoning statement is going to be. All right. And then also look for evidence supporting the conclusion. You have a conclusion. What's helping to support that? So this support can be in the form of examples, statistics, analogies, research studies, and expert testimony. Okay. Really want something to stand behind the statement you're trying to make. All right. That's a reason. Okay. So again, some skills I would like you to acquire is to find the reasons that support a conclusion. So we already know the conclusion, right? And now we want to see, how did we get there? As a listener, you want to hear the issue. Remember, look for that issue. What's the issue? Is it the Alpo? That's the topic. Should I feed my dog the Alpo? There's your issue, okay? And the conclusion is, I will feed my dog Alpo because... And then right after because comes that reason. So, and reasons for giving the argument. So the speaker, if you're a speaker, you want to clearly articulate your own conclusions and the reasons you've come up with those conclusions. Alrighty? All right. And so kind of didn't mean to jump around a little bit here, but when we're talking about decisions and how they're made, a decision... And maybe the decision also becomes your issue here. It's a dilemma between two or more alternative actions. Okay, and we talked about that before. What road should I take? Should we go to Waterworld or not? Okay, so you're